The New York Rangers, after winning the President's Trophy in 23-24, they became just the fourth team in history to have the best mark in the league and then miss the playoffs the following season. Big problem? Special teams. 28th on the power play. Penalty killing was 11th with 18 shorthanded goals to lead the league, but both of those were third in their President's Trophy winning season. So clearly drops in that area. Their additions, the big one, Vladislav Gavrikov signing as a UFA from the LA Kings, 7 years, $7 million AAV. They get Radish signed as a UFA from Washington, and Scott Morrow comes over in the aforementioned K'Andre Miller deal. In terms of their RFA signings, Will Cuylle, most significant, 2 years, $3.9 million on average. And they also bring Matt Rempe back into the lineup. But perhaps, Neil, even more significant are the drops. We've already mentioned K'Andre Miller. We mentioned Zach Jones in the Atlantic Division preview. He signed with the Buffalo Sabres as a UFA after not being qualified with the Rangers. And this was a guy that I believe showed some promise, or maybe just wasn't given the opportunity that was necessary in New York. But the big one, Chris Kreider, traded on June 12th to Anaheim in a deal that brought back center Carey Terrence. And Kreider, one of the all-time Ranger greats, and this just continues a dismantling of the club, which really began last summer.
Yeah, it did. And it began with the captain, Jacob Trouba, who they tried to trade to Detroit, couldn't get it done. He has to come into camp with all the rumors swirling around about him. And they go on from that to have a good start to the season, 12-4, I believe it was, until they ran into Edmonton and then got obliterated in Edmonton and then came home and lost to the Devils. And apparently all hell broke loose upstairs. And a memo went out, a text message that Kreider and Trouba, maybe others, were available. That got back to Kreider, and Kreider wasn't happy about it. That, combined with some injuries that he had, made his year abysmal for the Rangers. And then they trade him to Anaheim, where he joins Jacob Trouba. But one thing we do know is that they still have Igor Shesterkin in net, who's going to be one of the top goaltenders in the league again this season, as he has been the last few seasons. And so that will cover up a lot of mistakes. But definitely, if you're a Rangers fan, when you go to Madison Square Garden this year, buy a program, bring a lineup, because it's not going to be the same team as you saw last year.
You're going to get into the defense in a second, but I want to talk about offensively, because with Kreider out of the lineup, where's the offense going to come from? Artemi Panarin, 49 goals and 120 points in 23-24. He slipped by 12 goals and 31 points during the course of last season. Mika Zibanejad, terrible year, and a team worst minus 22. I think you're going to have to expect JT Miller, Vinny Trocheck, and it's about time that Alexis Lafrenière shows why he was a number one overall pick. This is a player that I believe is going to have his last chance to really shine in New York. He's expected to play with Panarin and Trocheck, and if he can't deliver the goods, I expect him to be out of New York the same way they moved Capo Caco last year.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, and I'm not sure that he can do it. He's going to have to play a heck of a lot better than he played last year, and a heck of a lot different, and put his nose down to the grindstone a lot more. Could take a cue from Cuylle, who is a fan favorite. Will Cuylle is at Madison Square Garden. Why? Because his work ethic, his physical play is so good. I think, too, Vic, you hit on another point. I think Mika Zibanejad, as good as he's been over the years they've had him there, and it was Jeff Gorton who stole him from the Ottawa Senators, that he has been excellent for them. Up until last year, he wasn't good at all. He can't have another year like last year. He's got to come through this year. I'm not sure whether or not Lafrenière can play on a top line. I personally don't see it. But they do have, as you said, Miller, Zibanejad, Trocheck, Panarin, and Will Cuylle is really up and coming. So those guys are all good. The question mark offensively is Perreault. How good is Perreault? How good can he become? Brand new coach too, Mike Sullivan. How does Mike Sullivan see this team? How is Mike Sullivan going to see this team by the end of October, when he knows the players and he knows what he can expect from them? It's all up in the air right now as to, with this forward group, as to what to expect out of it.
It looks like Perreault is going to get the first shot on the third line, but right behind him, a couple of other young left wings that are looking to crack this lineup. We saw Brett Berard have some time with the Rangers. Brennan Hoffman, I think also, it's about time that he gets a crack in this lineup as well. But as much as we've seen questions on the offensive side, this defense, as you said before, you need a program.
You definitely do. And it's hard to imagine 2 years ago when they won the President's Trophy with Trouba, heart and soul Ryan Lindgren, up and coming, powerful guy like Keandre Miller. And then, of course, the Norris Trophy winner, Adam Fox. You know, people were really bragging about the Rangers and their defense. And now the only guy left of that group is Fox. Now, they brought in Gavrikov, as you mentioned, from the LA Kings, gave him a huge contract. He was one of the biggest fishes in the pond, in the free agent pond. And Chris Drury was able to get him to come to New York. He'll probably play with Fox, which may be the Bokaboom and Leach, or Gavrikov and Fox. Maybe that's what they're thinking there. But then the question marks start after that when you've got Susie and Borgen as number 3 and 4. You've got Vaakanainen and Braden Schneider as maybe 5 and 6. I think Schneider might be in the top 4, but it's not a lot of depth on defense for the Rangers, and not a lot of what we're used to seeing from them. So there's a lot of question marks on their defense, and Shesterkin will have to be Shesterkin for this defense.
So our big Broadway question about the Rangers is Mike Sullivan comes in as head coach, and this is somebody that Chris Drury has wanted for a while. It's Drury's third hiring as general manager. Started with Gerard Gallant. He lasted 2 years. Went on to Peter Laviolette. Lasted 2 years. Sullivan has Stanley Cup championships, 2 of them with the Pittsburgh Penguins in 2016, 2017. Didn't have a lot of recent success. Where do you see his influence becoming a real positive that this club can rally around? Because certainly last season, it looked like a rudderless ship.
Mike Sullivan is thought of as one of the best coaches in the NHL. And for good reason. He won 2 straight Stanley Cups with Pittsburgh. However, he just missed the playoffs 3 years in a row as coach of the Pittsburgh Penguins. Which Mike Sullivan is going to be behind the bench? Is it going to be the one that won the Stanley Cups in Pittsburgh? Or is it going to be the one that's missed the playoffs 3 years in a row with Malkin, Letang, and Crosby? You can't hang all the credit for the Cups on Mike Sullivan. You can't hang all the blame for the missed playoffs on Mike Sullivan. But how good is Mike Sullivan as a coach? We're going to find out, because this group, to get into the playoffs, is going to have to overachieve. You got to get this group to overachieve. And if you can get them to overachieve, they'll make the playoffs. If they just go what expectation-wise, they're going to be in a battle in the bubble with the Columbus Blue Jackets and at all. And I think there's going to be pressure on Mike Sullivan in one way, shape, or form. And all he has to look at it is predecessors. They only last 2 years. At the end of this coming year, he'll be halfway. But we'll find out with Mike Sullivan, is he a good coach? Because can he do, for example, what Spencer Carberry did for the Washington Capitals last year? Clearly, they overachieved. Clearly. And we've already gone through them. That's what's going to happen with this group. He does have one ace in the hole, though, Shesterkin. He's got one of the very best goalies in the league.